Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am the Healthy Human, also known as Mia. Today's video is basically going to be about my biggest dieting mistakes and going to explain basically how I went through that and what to actually do instead. So I hope you guys enjoy. So my first mistake I used to do was only ever focusing on cardio. When I first started sort of getting healthy and doing a routine, trying to lose weight, basically cardio was the only thing I did. I would go on the cross trainer for hours and hours and hours, and go for runs a lot. And then when I did start to do a little bit more like circuit-based, weight-based training, it was very light, it was very high reps, and I was always sort of put together with some cardio exercises like burpees or mountain climbers or something. And yes, I did lose a lot of weight initially from doing this because I was expending a lot of energy through all this cardio, but I was sort of 65 or lower in weight, but I had absolutely no shape to my body whatsoever. So I wanted this sort of really toned, you know, that toned look that everyone was trying to get, and I thought to get there I had to lose even more weight. I thought I had to be like in the 50s to lose weight, so that was a big mistake of mine. And avoiding my dog. So yeah, I avoided doing weight training pretty much because I thought it was going to make me like look like a big man, which is so not true. Strength training has only now improved my physique like ridiculously so much better. I'm strong, and I actually have muscle, and so that is the biggest mistake. One of the biggest mistakes I made initially was only ever focusing on cardio. So if this is you, increase your strength training, push yourself. You will not get big. To get big and bulky, you would have to eat in a certain way and a ridiculous amount of food, which you just won't do. The second mistake I made was only having exercise as like my main focus. I didn't realize how much of a big impact nutrition had. You know, the whole saying like you can't out train a bad diet. You cannot. So if you are trying to lose weight and you haven't got your nutrition under control, or you're not paying attention to it, you will not progress. Or if you do, it'll be very, very slowly and probably not in the way that you actually want. So I was trying to out-train any sort of bad decisions, which definitely does not work. You cannot, if your diet is really shit, you cannot exercise to get where you want to be. If your diet is amazing, you can lose weight and improve without doing virtually any exercise at all. So definitely exercise should be secondary to nutrition. But the next mistake I made was meal planning for the healthy me. So often, like on a Sunday, I'd had a couple of rough days as I'd given up from the week before because I'd, you know, slipped up and had lots of sweets. And then I would be back in the groove on a Sunday, ready to go again on the Monday. And when I would plan my food, I would do really healthy things because that's what I was thinking about in my mind on the Sunday. And this would last about 2 days, and then that food would become pretty boring, pretty bland, too healthy, not enjoyable at all. So, and then, you know, the cycle of I would binge again and eat all these sweets mid to later in the week because I'd only prepped really, really healthy food with not much excitement in it. So obviously I wasn't going to stick with it. So when you are meal planning or planning out your meals, make sure it's something that you're actually going to enjoy. And also don't meal plan for 7 days a week of the same foods if you know that you're someone that's not going to enjoy that. Plan 2 days in advance and then 2 days again. Plan some sweets in there. Plan some really nice, yummy things. Don't just plan like salads and veggies and like bland protein and veggie sticks and dip for snacks. Like actually think about what you would actually enjoy. Because when you think about it, if you plan to be really, really healthy and you only stick to it half of the time, where is that actually getting you? If you plan something a little bit more indulgent, a bit more exciting, and you stick to that 100% of the time, you are going to progress a lot faster. The next mistake I made was I never really focused on protein until I was about later in high school. Probably after high school really was when I properly started to. I don't even think I was eating all that much protein during high school. I know the first workout program I did, there would have been, I don't want to even think about it, probably like they would have recommended, it was like a 1200 calorie diet, and it would have been like 80 grams, if that, of protein per day, which is not enough, especially when you're trying to lose weight. When you're trying to lose weight, protein is so incredibly important, because when you combine that with weight training, your muscle actually grows and shows more. When you don't focus on protein and weight loss, you will lose weight, yes, but you will lose muscle as well, which then will create that skinny fat look. You won't have any shape to your body. Even if you are weight training, if you're not fueling your body adequately with your nutrition, with your protein, you're not going to have much shape. So that's what I did as well. In conjunction to doing too much cardio, I also didn't focus on protein. And also now I focus on, I always hit about like 140, 150. I was even doing 160 for a little bit of period of time there. And it's definitely helped my training and my shape tremendously. Also, it's incredibly satiating protein. When I first started focusing on it consistently, I had so many less cravings, 100%, and I was a lot more fuller. I was more fulfilled with my meal plan that I was focusing on protein intake. So definitely focus on protein. The next one is I only focused on the scale, and initially I lost a lot of weight, so it was kind of the only thing I really focused on. When it started to become harder, and I didn't make progress week to week, like big drops, then I would get very, very, very disheartened. Now the scale is it's a good way of measuring progress, it really is, but it also, take it with a grain of salt. The scale weight can be influenced by so many different factors. Did you eat late last night? Did you have an increase in carb intake, increase of sodium? Did you do a hard workout? Did you weigh in earlier or later this morning? Have you drunk a lot of water? Are you on your period? Like, there's just so many things that can fluctuate it from day to day, which is totally normal. So often people can get very disheartened if they're only focusing on the scale. Often as well, people will lose fat, not weight, but fat, and their body will completely change even though they're weighing exactly the same. So make sure you're Make sure you're tracking your progress in different ways. Photos, measurements, feel of clothes, how are they fitting, how is your actual energy, how's your strength, your sleep, all of those things, they are super important. If the scale is affecting you day to day and it is, affecting your habits and your mindset, just get rid of it. Like, track your progress in other ways. The next one is going too low on my calories too fast. So I pretty much, when I did start counting calories, I was down to like 1200 for a bit. Then I did increase to 1500, 1600, but I kind of stayed there for quite some time. And my maintenance at that stage, I was doing quite a lot of exercise with basketball, with my weight training, with my cardio, with my walks and everything. So I expended quite a lot of energy. So my maintenance was about 2500 calories. Not that I paid attention to my maintenance at that stage, but I pretty much went down like almost like 1000 calories in a deficit from the get-go. What this does, first of all, increases your hunger because you're not used to eating that much less regularly, or your body's not, especially if you're exercising quite a lot. It actually needs more food to actually keep it running. So I'm surprised I lasted that long. But also during that stage of the 1650, 1600 or less calories, I was freaking starving. My cravings were through the roof, obviously in conjunction with a lot of other things. And what this actually does, if you go too low too fast, you will hit a plateau a lot quicker than if you gradually came down from your maintenance. So now, obviously I'm not doing that low calories because I'm not, ridiculous, and I know what my body actually needs, and there is a limit of how low I can go in calories before I start to sort of lose it. But what you should be doing is finding out your maintenance, staying with your maintenance for a week or two, and then gradually decreasing from there. So decrease maybe 200-300 calories first, see what happens in the next 2 weeks. If nothing happens, and decrease a little bit more. If then you start to see progress on like 2,000 calories, then stay there for a while. Why wouldn't you want to eat more food and still make progress? And then, as gradually as time goes on, you can decrease it depending on the rate you want your fat to lose, or if you have a deadline or something. But doing it that way more gradually means your body doesn't just get used to these calories that you're on and then you hit a plateau. And it's also a lot more enjoyable and fun and less taxing on your mind and your body as well. My next mistake was 2 long periods of dieting. Basically, when I first started out, I wasn't counting calories. I was definitely dieting though, and I pretty much dieted up until I was probably like 20. Obviously there was periods of when I was binge eating and overeating a few times when I'd given up for a little bit, and so I definitely wasn't always in a deficit, but it was always my goal to be in a deficit. So this was many years of this. Doing this does nothing good for your body, does nothing good for your mind. I had a really terrible mindset throughout those years. My weight fluctuated like crazy. I was like 75, then I was 62, then I was back to 75, then I was stayed there for a bit, then I was 78, and then I lost it, and then I went to 84, then I went back down to 70, back up to 75, back up to 78, 80. It was just being too long in a deficit can really affect your mindset. It's not sustainable. It should not be. You should not be aiming to just be in a deficit until you're happy with your body. It should be have a plan. Be in a deficit for 6 weeks, 12 weeks. I wouldn't go longer than 16 weeks, but even if you are in a deficit for that long, you definitely need to be having diet breaks throughout that 16 weeks. Whether that's a few days here and there, or being at maintenance, a full week at maintenance in the middle, or something like that. Being too long in a dieting phase, first of all, your body's going to eventually just stop working. You're not going to be getting the results that you want to be getting. Your energy is going to be super low, your mood's going to be all over the place, and you are very much at risk of developing disordered eating like I did, and binge eating like I did. So I would definitely avoid long periods of dieting for sure. The next mistake I made quite often was giving up after one bad day or one bad week. So if I had like Monday, Tuesday were great nutritionally, and Wednesday, and then I got to like Thursday and then I ate something that wasn't in my plan, it would be like, well, the whole week's ruined. So then for the next 4 days, I would eat whatever I wanted, completely sabotage myself, and just say, I'll just do it again next week. That just, to me now, is just so ridiculous. But in that sort of mindset that you do have, you do just want to give up and just start again on Monday. There's something about Mondays. So yeah, and just thinking about it now, like I had 3 very, very good days. I had one day where I just ate something a little bit different, and then completely let that rattle me to then just ruin the rest of the week and eat terribly, and not exercise. So what I could have just done was eat that thing and then be like, oh, okay, I'll just go back to my plan tomorrow. Like, it just makes so much more sense to do it that way. But obviously I know in a dieting mindset, in a restrictive mindset, that's what happens. So in conjunction with that though, that is also very much paired with being too healthy, planning too healthily, being too restrictive. So obviously that was all against me at that stage. But if you have a really great diet, you're happy with your food, and then you do have something off track, don't let that rattle you for the whole week. Just adjust. Like, you had something different, it's fine. maybe you can have a healthier snack the next day or something like that. Or maybe you can just go ahead and continue on as normal, because you are giving up so many good days just because of one little slip up that really doesn't mean all that much. And I did this all the time. So just thinking about how much that delayed my actual progress, crazy. The next mistake I made was virtually never changing my meal plan and never finding new recipes to make. So I was very stuck on a meal plan. Like, I would eat the same, I don't mind eating the same thing days in a row. That's not the issue. It's just if it's not enjoyable from the start. There were a few programs that I did where I followed it to a T, and didn't really, I guess, make it a bit more personal to me and my preferences. So I ate the same food, it was not enjoyable. Like, I'm so sick of egg whites, like I just can't deal with them. Chicken is boring. You know, I was having the chicken and rice and veg and like just soy sauce just so consistently. So I got put off quite a lot of food doing that, eating it every single day, even when I could not bear the thought of eating it. And I wasn't ever having my own homemade treats, and I love cooking. I'm a massive foodie. I was always having something super healthy, never really treating myself. So now I've definitely learnt that every weekend, I plan for my week. I plan at least 2 different types of meals for like 2. Breakfast is always kind of easy, but I plan to have different snacks, different lunches, different dinners. They all have the same sort of base vibe, veggies and grains and stuff, but I change up the flavors. I change up to what I want. And then come that week, if there is something I really would rather have, I give myself permission to have it. I'm not so strict about it anymore. Food should be enjoyable. Food should not be a chore. If you enjoy the way you're eating, then you will progress so much faster and it will be so much more enjoyable. This is a lifelong thing as well, so you want it to be sustainable. And the last mistake that I made was I was never realistic with my expectations. So initially, losing weight, I thought being in the 50s was going to be where I wanted my weight to be. That's ridiculous. For me personally, my weight now is like 78 kilos, and I can't imagine being 20 kilos lighter than I am now. So, or less. So that's not realistic for me. It's also not realistic to do an hour, at least an hour and a half exercise in the morning, and then also an hour and a half exercise at night with my schedule. Then I'm working full time, I have my own business, I go to the gym, I do hard sessions, and then expecting me to then go and do another one later. Just, it's not realistic. It's also not realistic to lose weight every single week. It's not realistic to lose centimeters every week. It's just not realistic, basically. I've learned to accept that progress is slow. I've learned to accept how my body is, and what is actually a healthy limit and healthy goal for myself, and not putting too much pressure on myself to do too many things at once. That is also a good tip as well. So I've come to terms with a lot of different things about my body and where actually I do want to be, and expecting that I will achieve some of those things and some of them I won't, but being okay with that. So they're the biggest dieting mistakes I had, and then sort of how I approach them now. So I hope it was helpful to someone in some way. If it was, let me know in the comments. And yeah, feel free to follow me on Instagram. I am a nutritionist and wellness coach, and I do post about this stuff quite a lot. Like, follow, subscribe to my channel, and yeah, hope you all have a lovely day.